to the fall edition of Talking with Forest Park. I'm Dana Gagnon, Government Programming Coordinator at Waycross Community Media, and I'm here today with Forest Park City Manager Ray Hodges. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you brought us a guest so we can talk about the economic development in Forest Park. Tell us who you brought us.
Yes, actually, Paul Brim. He's our Economic Development Director. He's been with us for a number of years, and he's the guy that's basically spearheading our economic development and some of our redevelopment in the community.
Excellent, excellent. So there seems to be a lot going on in the community of Forest Park with development. What are some of the things that we're seeing right now?
We're seeing a lot of reinvestment in the community, so a lot of buildings that had been vacant, we're starting to fill up. We filled up several buildings in the Kemper Meadow Business Center. We had a group out of Indianapolis called Hope Bridge that came in and brought a new business into the Kemper Meadow Business Center, along with State Farm Insurance and Kent Smith, who also opened up a new office. We had a couple pharmaceutical companies come into the business center. So it's been a very successful year so far from that standpoint. We've also seen some of our existing businesses actually expand or renovate their businesses.
And I know I drive on Sharon, and one of those that I see is A&E Door. There's a lot going on there.
Well, we're really happy with that project because obviously whenever you have a family-owned business like AE Door is, you always want to try to make sure that they stay happy and that they're able to expand at their present location. So we worked with them, and actually for the better part of last year, to talk about a project where they're actually adding a new headquarters office building and also a new showroom. But then what they were able to do was then take the existing building and reconfigure that to better suit their distribution needs. Added a new loading dock, a new driveway, so they can handle access in and off of Sharon Road a little bit better. Mm-hmm. The project's, it's probably close to $2 million, give or take, so it's a major project for us. And again, keeping one of our long-term businesses here in Forest Park.
And I think it's important that if individuals haven't driven by there recently, then they'd be amazed of the new building that they have expanded into.
It is. It's beyond what I usually see as a business renovation. It's becoming an entirely different building. And it's impressive. And it's so many times we see a business need to expand, which is great, not be able to stay in their location and move, and then we see so many of these vacant places. And I get excited anytime we see these spots get to be either reused or a way to find a way to keep them in that spot and keep that from happening.
Right. Well, and I know one of the projects we talked about that's kind of like that is the Omniplex Funplex project. So that's another example of a company coming in, taking a vacant building, renovating it, and putting a nice new business inside. So that's about a $1.5 million project start to finish. There's still work to be done because they're still gonna, try to find a tenant for the other side of the building. But it's a really nice family entertainment place. Full service restaurant and sports bar inside. It's got 10 bowling lanes, state-of-the-art Brunswick bowling lanes. I mean, it is the perfect place if you're going to have a family get-together or a corporate party or a kid's birthday party. It's perfect for that.
I was really excited to see something, initially just something go in, because that's that Kmart space and it's been vacant for a while and it's right at the entrance to Forest Park, and so people can see that. But also we're going into fall. It finally feels like we're going into fall after all that 90-degree weather we had. So indoor things that you can do with your family, on a date, just something that year-round we'll be able to access being right in our community and not something we have to drive far for.
And I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised when they go inside because the exterior of the building looks great. He did a wonderful job cleaning it up. But when you go inside, it's really remarkable to see the renovation with the bowling lanes, the trampoline park, the laser tag area, the restaurant. It's a really nice facility.
That's just a lot of resources that are not generally conveniently locally found. A trampoline park and a bowling alley, all in the building.
Right.
That just sounds fun to just think about. And it's here. It's in Forest Park. We're talking about vacant buildings. So there is a big area of Northland Boulevard that we see there, North Point Center, and there's something going on with that, right?
Absolutely, and this is a project we're really thrilled about because it has been literally more than a decade in the making. We had been working with one of our manufacturers over in the Northland Corridor, Magna Machine, for a number of years. Magna has been in Forest Park since the mid-1970s, and they probably have expanded 5 or 6 times over those years. They're really landlocked now. Whenever that happens, it raises a big red flag for us. Because, if they're landlocked and they don't have anywhere to go, okay, what's our next step with this growing business? And so Magna approached us late last year, and we started having some discussions with them about what we could possibly do to help them expand. We looked at sites adjacent to them, behind their building, and one of the options that we've always talked about was the possible conversion of North Point Shopping Center into an extension of their campus. North Point, we had been working with the previous owner to try to revitalize that facility, but revitalizing older retail facilities in neighborhoods, it's a very difficult proposition. There's a lot of retail space on the market. All you have to do is look at Whitten Road and see the retail space that we have available there. Makes it very difficult to kind of renovate these neighborhood shopping centers. So I think the previous owner, I think he gave it a good try, but he just could not master the resources to make that project work as a retail center. So we started talking with Magna about the possibility of acquiring it, and Scott Kramer and his team over at Magna Machine finally agreed in the middle part of this year to acquire the North Point Shopping Center complex. They're going to invest $3.4 million acquiring the building, doing a partial demolition, and then also renovating the building, converting it into office and assembly space for their state-of-the-art manufacturing operation. It's a really exciting project. It's going to keep 125 jobs in the community, and it'll probably result in another 15 to 20 new jobs as a result of the project.
That's it. So we're going to see a completely different look on Northland Boulevard. It's not just going to be a reuse of this store space that we have seen, and let's see if we can keep someone else in there. And they have green space as part of their plan.
I think that's the exciting part about this project, because what they're actually going to do is do a partial demolition of some of the building, and that'll create some green space that'll make for a nice transition from his building to the adjoining retail center and to the adjoining apartment complex that's right behind the facility. Plus, it'll just add some really nice green space area to that Northland corridor. Really clean this area up. I think it's going to be a wonderful project when it's all said and done, and a real plus, a real great addition to Northland. Plus, we're keeping one of our major employers here in Forest Park.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. I actually went and looked at some of the projects. They're large part manufacturing, and this is high-tech manufacturing happening locally right here in Forest Park.
Right.
They have a project, they've been subcontracted by Michigan State University to build large vessels for a project studying rare isotope beam facility, and these kinds of things. I think when you hear machinery, you don't always picture the kind of high-tech industry that we have locally when that kind of business is in our community.
And Magna's got a varied product line. So you mentioned the university work that they do. They also do wind turbines for the energy industry. Okay. One of the really, I think, unusual parts of their business, and it's actually the growing part of the business, part of what they're going to bring to Forest Park, is for the assembly of roller coaster parts and cars for roller coasters. If you've ever been to Las Vegas and gone to New York, the roller coaster there, that's Magna Machine's cars that are on that roller coaster. And they actually have a major project I think they're be doing overseas in China. That part of the business is part of what they're bringing to Forest Park. So it's kind of an exciting and interesting part of the business, and I think they started it thinking it was a unique niche and a way to maybe get some. It's actually grown into a major part of their business.
Those are the things that keep a row of businesses or a list of names on an economic development sheet and make them into, no, these are really neat things happening in our community, and roller coaster parts.
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I think it also helps reflect the fact that we are trying to continue to be a diverse community in terms of our business and the types of businesses. Yes, a lot of it is light manufacturing, but it is light manufacturing, high tech, pharmaceutical. That's the general nature that we're moving in, but not concentrated in any one area.
It's that diversity that we see that is a really neat, it makes Forest Park, so many communities are predominantly one thing or another thing, and we see such, Kemper Meadow, which is more office-based, and then we have manufacturing-based in other corners. And
Right, but I think it also
really,
fits
yeah.
with the fact that Forest Park is a planned community. So we were always intended to have certain aspects to the community, but nevertheless be a relatively self-contained community that we could sustain ourselves within the community. So we're fulfilling the plan that the original designers of the community had for Forest Park.
We do a lot of work with the state of Ohio, and they're always, I think, a little bit surprised when they come to Forest Park and they see, for a relatively smaller suburban community, the size of and scope of our business community that we have here. And we have advanced manufacturing, like we've talked about with Magna Machine and Fax and Machining. We have software development with Sigmatech that came here from Seattle. We have obviously financial and insurance services with Emeritus. We've got engineering with Geotechnology and Jacobs Engineering, which are major engineering companies out of St. Louis and Dallas. So I think, like Ray said, I think that's one of our core strengths, is that we've really developed a broad-based business community with a number of different disciplines in it, and that's what keeps us competitive in today's environment.
I think it speaks a lot to the level of workers that we have here in Forest Park, that they can be located in Forest Park and know they're going to find the kind of trained employees that they need. But I think it speaks a lot to the intentional work of the economic development of your work in the city of Forest Park.
We have an excellent team. I mean, we've got a very forward-thinking city council. We've had people both on staff and appointed and elected officials who have done a great job over the years. And it's really been that momentum that started from the day this community was founded until today, where we've been able to keep building upon, each block upon another, and that's gotten us to the point where we are today. It's not that we don't have our challenges, everybody does, but I think it's kept us very competitive and has kept us in a position where we could go out and attract new business investment to the city.
Now, in keeping Magna Machine, was there outside sources of funding we were able to help with to keep them here?
There was. There's always a lot of discussion about incentives, and we're very careful about how we apply incentives in our community. We did have a redevelopment incentive in this project, but most of the money is actually coming from outside of the city of Forest Park. The state of Ohio did a revitalization grant, which is kind of unusual, honestly, for a project of this size. But because the city was participating, the state gave us a $150,000 redevelopment grant to help facilitate the project. Hamilton County also stepped forward with a $150,000 redevelopment grant for the project. So for every dollar of city money that's in this project, we're actually seeing $2 of incentive money coming from outside sources.
That's fantastic. That's definitely good news to hear, to see outside investment. Do we have a construction timeline for when we're going to start seeing things happening, especially in Northland?
You're already starting to see some work.
Okay.
Scott's already started working on the interior of the building. Because of the time of year that we're in, we probably won't see the demolition happen until the first quarter of next year. But this is a major project. I mean, you're actually going to see along the Southland Road side of the building, he's going to put in an office building there to help accommodate some of his office needs. And then behind that, where for people like me who've been in the community a long time, remember Central Hardware being in that building, the old Central Hardware space is actually going to be converted into some more additional manufacturing space. They're actually going to raise the roof on that part of the building to accommodate demand and put in industrial cranes to do some of the work that's going to go in there. And then the remainder of the shopping center will be demolished, and that's where the green space will be. The project probably won't be finished until spring of next year. but it's a rather quick timetable. Obviously, we were hoping maybe to get started a little bit more on it this year, but we're just running into the end of the construction season. So you're probably looking at first quarter of next year.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot to talk about with development in Forest Park. I think we're going to come to the end of this segment, but we're going to take a break so that we can bring in someone else to speak with us about the next project. But thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate, Paul, the time that you spent with us.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. And again, we're just fortunate to have a really good group of people, across the board on our team working to make this happen in Forest Park.
Yeah, I'm really impressed.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add about the development?
Well, I just want to thank Paul for the work that he's been doing, and it reflects where Forest Park is going. We're positioned for progress, and when we transform the appearance of that shopping center, I think people will certainly agree it's the right thing for Forest Park to keep us growing.
I'm really excited to see that happen. That space is really going to transform.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And we'll return in just a moment. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching the fall edition of Talking with Forest Park. And Ray, you've brought us another guest. Go ahead and introduce him.
Well, I'm glad to introduce Jermaine Hill as our next guest. He's our assistant fire chief. Outstanding young man that has been doing a lot for the department. And I think his career is a reflection of Forest Park that we need to talk about more. And one of the aspects that we're hoping to talk about today is our interest in recruiting more young people from the community, our interest in attracting more minority individuals, more women and people that may not normally look at the fire and emergency medical services as a career opportunity. But Jermaine has come through the ranks, and I think he's an excellent person to talk about that particular area. So Jermaine, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So what kind of positions are you looking to recruit people for?
Right now, we're actively hiring for part-time firefighters. The fire service in general, there's a shortage of firefighters, and this just isn't in Forest Park or the region, it's nationwide. So the opportunity is golden for anyone that's interested in the fire service to give Forest Park a look, do some ride time. We have a program where residents can come to the firehouse, they can train with us, they can cook with us, clean with us, go on emergency details. We make sure to keep them out of harm's way. They can't go inside of a resident's home, but they can go with us on the details. They can stand at the trucks. They can talk to the folks that are in charge, the captains, lieutenants, et cetera, and get a general idea of what it's like to be a firefighter.
Now, what age can someone start to think about volunteering with the fire department?
Okay, so at any age, we definitely want volunteers, but we have an Explorer post where when you're age 14 to age 20 years old, you can come to the firehouse. Again, we'll train you. There's a peer group. We look to do competitions. We've had groups do competitions in the past, and we've done quite well. But we definitely want to expose as many people to the fire service as possible. And we teach the students about team building, accountability, multitasking, et cetera, putting down the phones and staying active. And more than anything, if a person if they become an explorer or they do that ride time, we want to give them skills that'll take them outside of the fire service, whatever profession that they choose to go into, if it's not the fire service.
Now, how many of those explorers are you seeing get excited and decide to do that as a career and go further?
It's starting to grow.
Okay.
It's starting to grow. It started out slow. Let's see, our most recent explorer, he just made full-time with Cincinnati. Let's see, our fire chief was a former Forest Park explorer. I want to say 5 out of our 6 captains, or 5 out of our 6 officers was a fire explorer. When I was younger, we didn't have explorer posts. I'm from Cincinnati. We didn't have that opportunity down there. I really wish we had. We didn't really have the vocational options that are there today. I think I would be further along in my career would have helped me adapt a lot sooner if I had the Explorer post that was available to me.
So it really sounds like young people thinking they grew
Absolutely.
up. They thought firefighting is fantastic. They've looked at it when they were little. They would go to the touch a truck days, and as they get older, it sounds like the answer is the Explorer program.
Absolutely.
How much time does that take for them as a training investment?
We have trainings, let's see, we train once a month, and then in the summer, and actually throughout the whole year, along with our trainings, we have opportunities for the students to engage the public. So along with the monthly trainings, we have public relations events, we have fire department trainings in the summer. The kids, they don't have to just rely on ride time. They can come to the firehouse 7 days a week and go over the trucks. We have people that would just love to train them and show them just different aspects of our jobs, show them how to use the tools, and just talk to them.
Okay.
And for us, the Explorer post and engaging in with the public in general, it reminds us of why we got into the fire service. You know, we all want to help people. We want to make a positive difference, a positive impact on people. And us working with those students and people from the community of diverse backgrounds, it helps us remember why we got into the fire service.
As you're interacting with these students, are there any particular moments that stand out to you, times that they got to engage in a situation or they got some neat experiences?
Let's see. As far as like in the Explorer posts, with some of the details that they've been on, they've been able to experience and see some things that normally they wouldn't. And that's just on car accidents, or if there's a fire that happens, you know, they're allowed to stand by the trucks. If they're experienced, they're allowed to bring tools to us, et cetera. Of course, they can't go inside of live fire, but they can stand there and be witness on the scene with us, and then we can point out different things. And once the fire is put out, we can take them through and show them how the fire started and things that we look for, showing them how to keep that scene integrity so that they don't disturb anything that may have legal ramifications, et cetera. So we've had a couple of stories where they were excited and they told us about that. But more than anything, the biggest joy that I know I personally get, and some of my firefighters will echo this too, we're in the schools so much. We have a program through Wentwood School District called the Firefighter Fitness Drill, where we talk to the kids about diet and exercise, and we take them through an obstacle course, which gives them a chance to touch the firefighter tools. I mean, they're pulling fire hose, they're chopping things, they're running, they're sprinting. And once that's over, we go to the grocery store. We see those students again, and they run up to us, and then they introduce us to their parents. We assist the Wentwood School District with fundraisers, things like that. We teamed up with them for the daddy-daughter dance and the mom prom. So when they see us in all of those non-traditional roles, and they see that the fire service, especially Forest Park, is inclusive, it allows them to be more comfortable with us, and it helps build that trust between the community and the fire service and the city. So I guess, did I answer your question? I kind of rambled a little bit there.
No, I did. I like to see how it impacts the individual kids, and sometimes that makes it more specific.
And then those students that we've been in contact with since 3rd and 4th grade, now they're starting to become our explorers, and now those guys are graduating to become part-time firefighters with us, or they're applying to Cincinnati and receiving employment from them, or going to a Middletown or a Hamilton.
Now, I think one thing important to talk about, because we're focused on this fire side of things, but the fire service in Forest Park is actually a lot broader than merely fighting fire. So talk about that a little bit in terms of the emergency medical side of things, because the number of fires we actually fight is relatively small in terms of the number of runs we make for emergency services.
That EMS, that comprises 85 to 90% of our
And
detail.
EMS being the
emergency medical services. So that's where a lot of our interaction with the public comes in. That run at 2:30 in the morning, that run at 8 in the morning, where we're meeting someone's parents or their grandparents or an actual student. it comes back. When we make those details on the patients, and then we get a chance again to see the positive impact that we had on someone, whether it's an asthma attack or a heart attack or a sprained ankle, it means so much that you treat people the right way. You treat people that you would want yourself to be treated, or you would want your parents to be treated. It makes a tremendous impact, and then it comes back to us tenfold. The public, they love us, and we love the opportunity to engage and just to give and meet people.
That's something I've always liked about Forest Park, is that it's the city of Forest Park, but it feels like a town. You know, you recognize the firefighters. You see people in Kroger all the time that
All
you
the time.
recognize. And I think that what you were saying about the little kids being comfortable recognizing these emergency people is key, because little kids won't necessarily come out in a situation when they're scared unless it's someone that they've had a chance to trust. So I think that's an extra benefit of these programs and reaching these kids, is that in a sad situation, they're more likely to come out and trust you and go to you when you need them to, which I think is really important.
And Forest Park is such a diverse community. There's, I want to say, 25 or 30 languages spoken in the Wentwood School District. And we have such a huge Latino population, Bhutanese, Nepali, et cetera, French-speaking Africans. I mean, it goes on and on. A lot of times, the parents will come to our community and they don't speak English as well as their students, as their children. So their children, you know, we have a relationship with them. They help build that trust between us and their parents. A lot of folks not from Forest Park, different ethnicities and communities, they don't necessarily trust the uniform. The uniform has a negative connotation to them. But once they see us past the uniform, they see us out in the community, at the open house, at the schools, at the football games, having a party, their kids come up and hug us or they give us a high five. It just builds that trust and builds that community. And
hopefully a bridge to something they can see themselves doing.
exactly.
That if they can have this much of a connection, they can have that much more connection to it.
Yes.
And I would think that on the EMS, now do explorers also learn the first aid skills to be helpful? They can't go in the houses, they're
Correct.
still kids, I get that.
They do.
That, but,
We teach all of our explorers CPR and first aid.
okay. I would think that that would be not just when they're on duty, but skills that
Oh,
help
life
them
skills.
wherever they are.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
in their communities and in their families and in their neighborhoods.
Mhm,
At
exactly.
their sports teams and
Yes.
all of
yes.
those things. Now, if someone's watching and they think, oh, I've missed the window, I just turned 20, I can't be an explorer anymore, are there other ways that, through volunteering or through connecting, that people can get involved with either EMS skills or firefighting?
Oh, absolutely. And we'll point them in the right directions. There are several schools that they could go to, whether it's Butler Tech or Scarlet Oaks or Cincinnati State. We have a relationship with Colerain's Fire Department where they allow us to put students in their fire and their EMS classes as well. So if you come to us, if you have a heart for firefighting, if you have a passion, we can point you in the right direction. If not, fund you ourselves and put you on our team.
I just want to mention one of those non-traditional roles, and you mentioned the daddy-daughter dance that kids may have had the chance to see our deputy fire chief in, and what was that role?
Let's see. I may have DJ'd a couple of dances here and there.
I only bring that up because I think you did a very good job at it, but it's also another way that the kids get to see you and connect to you and not always see you in the uniform, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that's just a reflection of the fact that we want to be a part of the community. We don't want the fire department over here and the community over there. We want to intermingle with the public and let them see that we are citizens in the community just as they are, and we all deserve good quality service. And these are professional people. People can look at Jermaine and the other firefighters and realize these are professional people that still know how to enjoy themselves and interact with people in the community. So it's a good opportunity to get out and about in the community.
Yeah, no, and I see that in so many different ways, and I can also see the result, that people are comfortable with that. I see that in places like Kroger. I see that people are comfortable interacting. It doesn't have to be a prearranged situation that I'm going to meet with a person in a uniform now.
Right, and Jermaine touched on it earlier, but it is just part of the process of building trust and confidence when you know that these are good professional people that know their work and do it well, but at the same time, you could talk to them just as you would talk to your friends and family.
Let me ask you this. I'd like to, because we're hoping that young people watching this will see that there are ways for them to get connected and they can get involved, and that people with all different kinds of backgrounds have a place in the EMS and the firefighting community. So what would be the next contact you would want someone watching this to make?
I would say they can call me. My number, 513-595-5291. Ask for Assistant Chief Hill, or the students know me as Firefighter Jay. I can definitely point you in the right direction. I can talk to you about the Explorer post if you're interested in it, or if you just want to do ride time, or if you just want to come hang at the firehouse one day. We can do that as well.
Okay, I like to make sure that they know, this is interesting, now what do I do? And not,
Right.
oh, let's think about, maybe I'll find out what to do later. So
But
yeah.
we're going to put them to work, though. They're going to have
That's
fun, but we're going to
excellent.
put them to work.
I think a lot of parents watching that are taking a note. We're writing down that number. So that's the number. If you want to see your kid put to work, send them over to Jermaine.
Absolutely.
Firefighter Jay.
There we go.
That's what'll happen. Thank you so much for coming in. Are there any more? Is there a last comment you'd like to leave with young people to let them know why they should get involved?
Let's see.
Well,
You know-
comment on it from this standpoint. You've done it. You're at this point as you advise other young people. Has it been worthwhile? Has it been the right direction? Might it be the right direction for others to follow?
I would say that the fire department has afforded me a lifestyle, and not monetarily. We didn't get into the fire service to get rich, but it's put me in positions and allowed me to see things all across the nation that I never imagined. I went to a firefighter conference this past year in Dallas, and there were firefighters from England, from Africa, from Alaska, from Dubai, from Australia. And just to have the chance to interact with those individuals and to understand that our struggles are their struggles as well. Their public education programs are similar to ours as well. You know, there are some differences, and we get a chance to use each other as a sounding board and bounce things off. It's put me in a position to make that positive impact on people, which is what I love. And aside from the positive impact, it's just, I don't know, I can't say enough good things about the fire service and those students, and to the firefighters, the other fire departments that may be watching this. I want them to understand that, you know, for a long time, the fire service was seen as exclusive. 70s and 80s, there were so many reasons to keep minorities and women out of the fire service. Like, you had to fit a certain mold. Whereas now, you have to be professional. You have to have a kind heart. And if they're inclusive, the diversity will follow. If there's people inside the fire department that look like those in the community, if those two reflect each other, the diversity will come. And you want to have the women in the fire service, definitely, because they're just as strong as we are. And I would say even smarter, but just as
well
smart.
said, no.
But from an employee standpoint, you know, our job pool is shrinking. Our job pool is shrinking. If you're looking to get into the fire service, I know that there's fire departments that will fund students from their communities to come into the fire service. We need your ideas. We need your energy. We need your perspective. You don't want to have a group of people that all think alike. That's dangerous. That's very dangerous. You want to have those different perspectives. You want to have those different ages, those different skill levels, those different assets to have a complete team. So For the young people coming in, I would say definitely consider the fire service. If you want to talk to me, hear my testimony, talk about things I did well, talk about things that I wish I'd done differently, classes that I wish I'd had taken years prior to, I'm open. I have an open door policy.
And as we start to wrap this up, it's important also to note that you've obviously have reached a level of success, and that's good for you. But what we want to do here in Forest Park is to reach back and reach others.
Absolutely.
And give them an opportunity that we think they will be very pleased with if they're just exposed to it more.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so glad that you were able to come in and
Thank you for
be
having
our
me.
guest today. And again, I think if the young people listening to this will follow through, make some contact with you, you'll be more than willing to help them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I really see that heart in connecting in you, in connecting with students and helping them connect through your story and getting involved too. And that's very clear as you talk about it. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Dana.
And thank you for coming in so we can make sure the residents of Forest Park stay connected with the different things going on in their community. And is there anything else you'd like to make sure that we have a chance to mention before we end?
No, we've covered a lot, and we really may not be able to get it all squeezed in one program, but nevertheless, this is just part of what we do in terms of reaching out to the community, helping to make sure that the community is informed of what's going on, and at the same time, trying to reach as many people as we can to let them know that our government is here to serve them. And with people like Jermaine, we do a very good job in doing that, in delivering that quality service that they should expect.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming to the studio so we can make sure that we can let folks know about these things.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you as well for tuning in to learn more about your community. This has been the fall edition of Talking with Forest Park. We'll see you next time. Have a good evening.